Hey, hello, good evening. How are you, everyone? It is good to see you. It is good to be seen by you. Welcome to the show. I'm glad you're all here. Hello, James Seymour. That's certainly good news about Osric books. And the person who is me, who is glad to do the seeing, is Bill Sylvie, aka the Dungeon Delver, coming to you live from an undisclosed location somewhere beneath the swamps of Central Florida. And have we got a show for you tonight? I'm asking, have we got a show for you tonight? I don't. Let me look at my notes here. No, we have a show. Of course, we have a show for you tonight. Wherever you're tuning in from, if you're over here on YouTube, if you're over there on Twitter, please do me a favor and say hi and let me know where you are and how things are. But anyway, I'm glad you're all here. Welcome, five and all, Michael Dale. No, we got a dozen. We got a few people watching now. I'm pretty happy about that. But anyway, we have a good show tonight. Kyle is kind of flitting in and out of the green room there. I think we ran out of pistachios and Hennessy. So he's running over to the package store just across the corner. Not the one next to Publix, but the one that's down a little further from that. You know the one I'm talking about. So he will be joining us shortly as soon as he gets his snack straight. Brutal Hermit! Hello to Arkansas. I'm glad you're here, buddy. Thank you for catching a stream. Pauper Knight, good to see you. I hope you're not a pauper for too long. SCHUANT, is that the yellow? That's Schwan. That's close. But anyway, do I get credit for the twit watchers over on X? Not in terms of... I get credit for it in that I get more exposure. If any of you folks want to expose yourselves, that's entirely up to you. But no, I mean, not in terms of views here on YouTube. No. David Mills, hello, how are you? Good to see you. Your wife brought you some pistachios and you're a little under the weather. I am sorry, Pauper Knight. Enjoy the pistachios. Unfortunately, I can't send you any Hennessy. But what I can do, hello, John Strain, what I can do is, let's see, Viking Hat is blipping in and out. I think he's searching the lounger in there. We have kind of this chaise lounger. I think he's searching that for change. That's okay. Yeah, no ad money, but street cred. That's how it is. But anyway, I hope everyone is doing well. I hope you are paying attention. And, oh, I'm getting a message here. Just a moment. Might be Kyle texting me. We'll have a quick Gender or a quick Goose, whichever. Why, yes, it is. Let me see. All right. Kyle is caught in traffic, so he will be here shortly. But anyhow, north of the Rockies to Port to pay attention. I feel that, man. I feel that right here. 110%. 110%. I gotta stay up on socials, guys. I gotta monitor all networks and all channels. So anyhow, but I hope you guys are having a wonderful evening. As I said, Kyle will be joining us momentarily, and we're gonna hold forth on a great many things tonight. Something I hope you will absolutely enjoy and share with us this evening. And if you got any questions, if you got any tabletop role-playing game questions, then please absolutely feel free to ask them, and we will do our level best to answer them. I have a video coming tomorrow. I have a regular channel video coming tomorrow for you guys, so keep your eyes peeled for that. It is some interesting-ish old school news, but we'll see. You cannot stop the signal, Pauper Knight. No, you can't. I'm sorry that yes, that was Pauper Night. Been enjoying my deep dive into the 1E combat sequence rules that I never really understood when I was 12 to 14, especially the intricacies of surprise. Yes, that's and we talk about that a lot here too. But anyway, so tomorrow night we have a guest. Yan Yan Zhao will be here tomorrow night, and we got a lot to talk about. We're going to be talking about his project, Empire of the Undying Sun. I am really hyped for that. I'm looking forward to reading that. And what else do we got going on? Friday night, we're going to be right back here, and we're going to be playing some Gamma World. That's right. We're going to be playing some classic Gamma World, and I hope you guys will want to be there for that, because that's a lot of fun. James Seymour has a question. For me and my panel, how do I start / run a campaign with only one confirmed player? Just start playing. Just start playing. They can have hirelings and henchmen. They can form a rather large force themselves. If it's truly a campaign, in the oldest sense of the word, they can cut a slice out of the kingdom and establish a domain for themselves. And then when the other players arrive, boom, base of operations, baby. And they've got an experienced veteran of adventures. So I'm thinking that's your go-to, and that could be me, but I'm thinking that's your go-to. So I would recommend doing that. Had an interesting conversation today, which if I see Kyle popping on, I will curtail this line of thought really quick to bring him in here. So he can chat with us about non-serious things. But had an interesting conversation. One of my buddies called me, and we chit-chatted on the phone today about the silliness that is the tribalism in tabletop gaming. Now, I have said, and I maintain, excuse me while I do this, I have said and I maintain that that TTRPG Twitter is lots of fun. I really, it is a lot of fun. I have fun over there because I tune out, I cultivate, I curate, and I only focus on TTRPG Twitter. And chat, if it's gonna not be on that kind of talking, it's strictly with friends. Twitter acquaintances, but when I say friends, and I have some actual friends over there. Doom Sword's over there, and he and I conversate sometimes, and we'll get going and be like, "Hey, you want to just pick this up on a Discord call or something?" And because it's cool. But yeah, I was talking to somebody about Jimmy Invictus, not about Jimmy Invictus, but I was talking about the tribalism that pops up around TTRPG social media, that is popping up around TTRPG social media. And ooh, don't be seen talking to this person, and ooh, don't like what that person has to say, and ooh, we're gonna ostracize you. And it's like Google friend circles and G plus back from 2008, 2009, 2010, all over again. And I'm here to tell you, it's BS, guys. All right. It's BS. Look, there's not a single person listening to this live stream right now, or watching this live stream right now, or in the future, that I'm going to be like, oh, you talked to John Doe? Oh, well, good luck with all your future endeavors. Click. Because you and I, we might be completely simpatico, right? Look, I have some exceptionally misguided friends who do not recognize the primacy and awesomeness that is the University of Alabama Crimson Tide football team, all right? For some reason, they're a little touched in the head, and they support other teams in college. I guess other teams have to have fans too. And I can't change that. Hey, Jorge Yuri. So, um, so these, now with that said, I'm going to say, and I'm not going to name names because I'm not here to do that. Yeah. And I talked to this person about this. There's 4 or 5 people out there that I'm like, look, I don't want to associate with you. All right. You've said some pretty hateful and egregious things. Now, does that mean that they forever get the mark of Cain, the scarlet letter? No, no, not at all. I think if they back down off of those egregious points of view, sure, okay, yeah, we all make mistakes. Uh, James Seymour, it is Kalen DeBoer out of the University of Washington. He's been doing a good job recruiting. We'll see how his scheme works. Could he be the next, dynasty coach, or is he in for 3 or 4 seasons and then on to the NFL or to a different school? I don't know. But to come back to what I was talking about, to come back to what I'm talking about, our community. Do you remember when we all just used to be dorks? Do you remember when we all just used to be nerds? And people would say, hey, look at those D&D playing nerds, those dorks over there. Well, I do. And we might have our little disagreements inside. But I'm also not gonna I'm not going to fall into the geek social fallacy of saying that because you're an AD&D player and you're an AD&D player and you're an AD&D player and I'm an AD&D player and you and me are friends, that you and you and you should also all be friends. I'm not saying that. That is one of the classic geek social fallacies. But I will say that us tearing at each other, regardless of what D&D you play, 6th ed, 5th ed, 4th, 3rd, 3rd and a half, 2nd, AD&D, basic, of any flavor, original D&D, chainmail, and house rules, it only serves one person. And that is the person in the nicest C-suite office at Wizards of the Coast. That's the only person who benefits from it, not you. You might go to bed at night and say, I won an argument on the internet today with a fellow nerd. Yay me. Will you wake up with more money in your bank account tomorrow? You won't. Wizards of the Coast might. So just keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind. While we're waiting for Kyle, and I see him there. Yes, I see you, Kyle. He's out in the green room. I'm going to answer your question real quick. Jonathan Sward, hello. Any quick thoughts on NIL's effect on college sports? What it should have been is awesome. What it is and what it's doing is a disaster. It's awful. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to put my headphones on and I'm going to press the red button that opens the door to the green room. And we're going to say, hey, to the man from down under, the man with the plan, the challenger from out of the wasteland. He's bad. He's beautiful. He's the man with Kyle SCHUANT name. You are muted, Kyle. We cannot hear you. So hopefully Kyle will resolve his audio issues here shortly. Yeah, I will say, let me see here, Kyle. Muted and unmuted. We cannot hear you yet. But anyhow, Shin Shara, yeah, that's I think Mark Twain probably would have said this about the internet. Never argue with idiots on the internet. They'll drag you down into the mud and then beat you up with experience. Kyle, can you hear us? Give us a nod if you can hear us. Okay, so he can hear us and we can't hear him. That build-up, Joe, that build-up was pretty good, and it's a shame that Kyle is having audio issues right now. 60 folks tuning in, 20 over here on YouTube, and 40 over there on Twitter. If you're watching over on Twitter, oh, I heard a click. We heard a click, Kyle. You did something. Something happened. Aussie internet doing its usual bang. I think it's just Kyle's. Just his laptop audio settings. I don't even think it's necessarily his laptop because it's pretty groovy. Wait, I hear static. Kyle, speak to us.
Yeah? Do you hear
Yeah! Me? Woohoo! Hey!
Okay.
All right.
Exactly the same as I had 5 minutes ago. I don't know why it doesn't work.
How are you, my friend?
Yeah, all right. I think calling me man with a plan is overstating it.
Come on, Kyle. You always got a plan. But listen, it's good to see you, brother. How you been?
Is every Aussie required to have a belt pouch in homage to kangaroos and wallabies? No. However, when you go to the tourist trap areas, you can actually get a kangaroo scrotum coin purse. If you want to. Yeah, I've never owned one, but you can get one.
I actually at Ren fairs here in Florida. People don't generally think of Florida as a cattle state, but there are a fair amount of ranches in the northern Central Florida and southern Central Florida areas. But at the Ren fairs, there's almost always there's a Leatherworks booth that they sell bully cups, and they're like shellacked cups that are they're bull sacks, like, you know, guaranteed to be liquid proof. You can put hot coffee in these, and I'm just like, not even on a dare. Not even on a dare. Anyway, that's a hell of a start in to have you join us on the show with Kyle. So anyway, so what's new? We were talking last time. You were talking about getting a gaming group together with some friends down there. What is the status?
There's not much status on it. I've been reaching out to. I've been going through my email list because I can't remember them off the top of my head, all the people I gamed with. So I just go through my email address book, and I go, think to myself, is that a gamer? No, that's someone I trained once 10 years ago. Is that a gamer? No, that's just someone from some mailing list. Okay, is that a gamer? Yes, that's the gamer. So I email them out. Email bounces. I find the next one. I send an email and I'm waiting on responses. I basically would like to get 2 or 3, and then we could just go and set up the open game table at the game store. Mm-hmm. And things should go good from there. But you kind of need 2 or 3. Like, if you just go there and sit there by yourself, you probably won't have much success. But you need at least one, I think. But, you know,
and that actually ties into a question here, and I'm fixing to start leaning on you, Kyle, because I'm so damn intimidating. I know you're sitting there thinking, thank God I'm 8,700 miles away from him. But trust me. No, someone was asking, let me see, what was it? Somebody was asking me, come on. This is James Seymour. How do you start and run a campaign with only one confirmed player? Well, one thing I can tell you is Kyle actually ran a good, 6-7 sessions in what I'm going to mutilate this, and I apologize. Was it Tuesdag, yeah. Setting that you did with D&D, and that was that was pretty good fun. My answer to James was, if you know, or at least you strongly suspect you're going to have more players coming in, just roll with it and let You know, because that player is they're gonna have hirelings, they're gonna have henchmen, and by the time the other players come in, if it's a true campaign in the old school sense of the word, you've established yourself. You know.
Yeah, yeah. So you could just roll with it if you expect that other players will show up in time. Just check my volume. Jay Tyler is complaining I'm not loud. But there's also, if you know that it's going to be one-on-one indefinitely, then you can plan the campaign around it. And there's some different campaign concepts that you can try. Like I ran an Immortals campaign, like a Highlander one, where the the player character died, and then he came back, and so he had the experience of finding a sort of a Ramirez, Sean Connery figure, and so on, and going through that. So that's kind of a solo experience. If you're an Immortal, you're definitely it's like D&D with the volume turned up to 11 in the sense that there are player characters and then there's minions and goons, you know, because the Immortals are so powerful compared to the rest. And we ran it in GURPS, and the story was that when you killed a guy, because you've got a total point value for your character. When you killed a guy, you got your experience points were some percentage, I can't remember what it was, 5% or something, of what his total point value was. And you could then use that to buy extra skills and powers and so on. So when the guy killed another, that's why the guys were running around trying to kill all the other Immortals. That's what it meant, that, the time of the gathering, they would, yeah, because like once you've killed all the other Immortals, you're going to be like this 1,000 point character.
I love that concept. That ties into like a Twinkie Munchkin-y point buy, but also into the classic. Into the classic Braunstein style. I'm doing my own thing over here until I bump into your character, and then we're having entanglements.
Yeah, and so I said there were benevolent and malignant Immortals. And the malignant Immortals were the ones who just wanted to kill all the other Immortals and amass ultimate power for themselves. And the benevolent ones were the ones who said, okay, whoever is left at the time after all this is going to be a pretty powerful guy, and we do actually have to think about the rest of the world. So they were benevolent or malignant towards the non-immortals, towards the mortals in that sense. So yeah, we've got to think about the rest of the world and how it's going to turn out. Do we want the Kurgan running the world, or do we want Sean Connery running the world? It's...
That depends on which Sean Connery we're talking about. We're talking about James Bond Sean Connery. We're talking about we talking about the Avengers, and I'm not talking about the ones with Robert Downey Jr. and folks. Sean Connery. But no, that sounds awesome. And by the way, this is for Jimmy.
So the benevolent ones would take the new ones, the kind of fledgling Immortals, under their wing and train them up to try to give them an attitude adjustment, if you like. So essentially it was like the lawful and chaotic ones, basically.
Right on, right on.
And that works pretty well as a one-on-one campaign. I think if you tried to do that as a party campaign, the non-immortal player characters would get pretty tired of being second fiddle. It's bad enough in D&D when you've got one player who's the glory hound.
Yeah.
And the others just, we're not men-at-arms, damn it. So, yeah, that works pretty well as a one-on-one campaign. And I think if you were doing like the James Bond game, that would work pretty well as a one-on-one campaign. So
another Connery tie-in.
Yeah, one-on-one campaigns can work, but a long time ago I kind of mentally classified players into active, reactive, and passive. And passive is obvious enough. They're just there to hang out and eat snacks and talk shit. The active players make things happen, and the reactive players, when something happens, they'll react to it, but they won't make things happen. You know, if you just stick them in an inn, the active players will go looking for the nearest dungeon. The reactive players will just start a bar fight, and the passive players will say, you know, what's on the menu. So, I think if you have one-on-one, you've got to have an active player.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I'm gonna sit in the inn and wait to see what happens. It doesn't really work if you're doing a solo game and you have a, you know, kind of a passive player. Well, that brings me to the next point, and I know, I mean, you and I didn't discuss this because, you know, show prep around here, folks, is it's Kyle messaging me. We going tonight? Yeah, and that's it. That's our pre-show meetings. That is our table read. That is our show team get together. Is a message over. We going tonight? Yeah. But I think. So I'm going to reach out to Lord Koron. You know I'm down to play. You know he's down to play. Would you be willing to just, let's just kick this off and run with the hex crawl game? If you're not, that's fine. Not tonight, right, obviously.
Yeah, all right, fuck it. Let's go.
All right. Definitely. All right, so we'll roll with that. Hey, Vincent, good to see you. We'll roll with that, and whether it's, you know, it's next week because real life intercedes, or the next time you're back here at the table, we're going to roll with it. And those of you out there who've been sitting on the fence, let me tell you, or if you don't know what exactly is going down, Mr. Kyle has set the entry point for this, but there is an opportunity for those of you who would like to play. If you are a supporter of this show on Patreon or on YouTube memberships, for as little as $1, there is no, like, you got to be at the gold level, or, you know, you got to have at least 10 people backing. We're not an MLM. All right. This is not how this works. You don't have to sell Amway to make this happen. Just back at any level, or if you're already a backer and you want to play first edition AD&D in a hex crawl on Wednesday nights, and I know there's some of you out there who have messaged me about, man, how can I get in on some of that AD&D action you do on the show? This is your chance. This is your chance. So please, by all means, reach out to us on the Discord, reach out to me on email. It's running right across the bottom there, and say, yes, I want a character to die horribly at the hands of randomly generated monsters and Kyle's dice. Then by God, we'll make that happen, and we'll start next week. Jimmy Invictus is intrigued. Vincent, you're down for that. Vincent, I think, is a backer. So Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, if you can clear that off. Jimmy, I think Jimmy's on the Discord. Vincent's on the Discord. Reach out to us on the Discord. We'll dice up some
characters. The Wastrel Wednesdays channel. Here you go.
Exactly. The Wastrel Wednesdays channel. And there's the intro movie.
There you go, boys and girls.
There you go. Now, you guys now have no excuse to not give that a try. Again, that is over in the Wastrel Wednesday section.
And in the comment section, any player character class from the first edition Player's Handbook is acceptable, not Unearthed Arcana. You generate your characters by rolling 3d6 down the line. If you lack the prerequisites for a particular class, you can still be that class. However, you have a 10% experience point malus. So just as you get an experience point bonus, if you've got more than the required stats, or much more, you get a 10% malus if you don't have the required stats. If you want to be a strength 8 fighter, you can be. But he's going to learn slowly.
Well, there you go, guys.
And the same as Monk and Paladin and all the other things that you roll.
It is laid out before you. Come join us. And if you're watching, whether you're over on Twitter or you're here on Fire Safety. No, Alex Jones.
Johnson.
No.
Well, I was, the little, that intro text, I was originally going to try to do a Marco voice, like the introduction of Conan, you know, between the times. But I always end up sounding like some sort of robot, bad Arnold Schwarzenegger accent instead of Marco. I couldn't do it, so I nixed that and just let the text do it instead.
All right, so I'm gonna share this now. If you're watching this, future people, and you go like, "There's not even a Discord server there anymore." I mean, I could not be there. But right now, if you're not on the Discord, you can come over there. No, I'm not gonna do Alex Jones for Call of Cthulhu. I will dance for your pleasure. If anyone wants to super chat, you can get an Alex Jones out of me tonight. Vincent says, no unnecessary early deaths. Ha 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 ha! You're funny.
Deaths are neither necessary nor unnecessary. They're just what the dice say.
That is exactly it.
But I regular listeners will know I'm a big believer in fair warning. So if there is a giant red dragon living in the mountain, there's going to be, a map that says around it, Desolation of Smorg. It's because that giant red dragon went around burning everything with his breath. And if there's any kind of ecology, if the dragon actually has to eat, it means all the surrounding farmers are complaining that their cattle keep disappearing. And you find giant red dragon droppings in the area as well. And as you approach the mountain, you smell a metallic smell and a burning smell. If after all that you choose to wander in and stick him in the eye with your dagger, that's when you're a first level thief, that's up to you. You knew what was coming, It's like anyone could do the sniper shot from 300 yards, or the wizard appears from the invisible wizard appears from nowhere and throws a fireball at the first level party. You could do that, but it's stupid. So I'm a believer in fair warning. And like if you go into a dungeon, you expect there to be traps, so you should be looking for traps. And occasionally you'll miss them, but I mean, you take the risks, there'll be the reward.
And I mean that is
if you want a safe life, so stay in the inn.
Yeah, exactly. And that like Kyle, this speaks to me on a level here. This is from S2 White Plume Mountain up in the top center. I don't know if you folks can read that, but this image. If you know. But it says, "Beyond to the lair of Dregotha, the undead dragon, where fabulous riches and hideous death await." I mean, that's it, right? That is it in its entirety.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
So, it's not a matter of the deaths being necessary or unnecessary. It's just what the dice say. However, you decided to you're the one who decided to roll the dice. So,
Yes. So, so there you go, guys. That's the invite is open, and Vincent has thrown his hat in the ring. And okay. Well, Doc Flamingo bought it. Here we go, Kyle. Folks on Twitter, if you've never heard this before, you're welcome, and I'm sorry. The Deep State Guild has a spell that turns princes into gay frogs. I tried to warn you, people. They put something in the water. They put spells in the water, folks. It's a new Greyhawk order, and they're trying to establish it. I tried to warn you. You wouldn't listen to me. But you're going to listen now. When the blue-crested helmets are marching down the streets of your villages, you'll understand. You'll say, we should have listened to him. We should have listened to Sir Alex. Anyway, there you go. Thank you for this super chat.
The comment and the rant reminded me of I saw on Instagram this guy got an account called Bumper Sticker Bandit, and what he does is he's personally offended by people who don't park properly in public car spaces, and they park across a couple of spaces. So he has in his glove box a whole swag of different bumper stickers, which, like saying, I marched in Pride Month or something like that. Because he just knows the sort of guys who drive this big truck and are parked across a couple of spaces would be a little bit upset at seeing that as a bumper. They're not their kind of guys who have bumper stickers,
Right.
You don't really get NRA and gay rights next to each other. So he puts those bumper stickers on, and I heart getting pegged and that sort of thing. He sticks them on.
I'm going to need a few more super chats tonight. Let me just say that right now. We have crossed the threshold straight into demonetized territory. I'm just letting you guys know that.
Well, I thought we'd just long accepted the Wednesdays. Especially
Wednesdays are demonetized. Yeah.
Yeah, when we did conflict and we had all these people getting shot and Claymore mines going off and stuff like that, and RPGs blowing up hotels and
yeah. I think it started before. I think it started firmly in Traveler.
That was the players that time, not me.
Granted, you were just sitting back there watching the chaos that we were committing. My captain was completely reasonable. I just want to point that out. I never did anything unreasonable. It was everybody else on the crew.
But you were the captain, so you were responsible for them.
I told them not to do certain things, and they did it anyway. I just want to give a shout out to Nerd Cognito. Their comment is not showing up here. They said, so glad I'm streaming X now, Delver. We can be part of your goodness again. Absolutely love some Nerd Cognito. Let's see. James Seymour, serious question. Has anybody statted up kangaroos, dingoes, Tasmanian devils, salty crocs, or other upside down fauna? I think you could just reskin. I'm sorry, that's a modernist term. I know. Wolves and foxes for dingoes. Just say, well, it looks like this instead of a wolf or a fox. And as far as crocodiles, yes, crocodiles have been in AD&D almost from the get go. Kangaroos, I don't know.
Well, they're going to be one of the big red ones, the boxing kangaroos. The others, the others is just prey like rabbits or something. You don't need stats for rabbits.
Would you give them? Would you give the big reds like a level of monk, Kyle?
Only the uplifted ones, and that being Traveller.
Right. Okay. All right. So but they'll.
I mean, if Mark Miller had been Australian, he would have had, instead of the Aslan, the lion ones and the whatever the dog ones were called, and that he'd have uplifted kangaroos.
Yeah. I did ask. I saw Mark Miller casting around on RPG Twitter, like it's different from any other Twitter. But I did ask Mark Miller if he would like to be on the show. Haven't heard back, but if he says yes, I definitely want you to ride co-pilot on that one, Kyle. That'll be a lot of fun. But anyway, let's see. Dirty History and Hobby says alligators can spend up to a week in saltwater environments, but they need to spend an equal amount of time after that clearing others. Well, there's something I didn't know. But there is a story about, and I'm sure people have heard this, about Japanese troops in retreat from the British in Burma getting cut off in a swamp, and the British troops could hear like gunfire all night, but not at their perimeter, and screams and yells and everything, as the Japanese were fighting off crocodiles.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
What was I going to say? The croc story that I know is, so researchers looked into their immune system, because they noted that crocs will get into a fight with each other and actually get like a leg torn off or something, and they don't die of infection somehow. They, like, you've had your leg torn off and then you wander off into a swamp. You or I are going to die. Forget about the blood loss. It's the infection is going to kill us. But crocs are fine. They survive it. So they said, let's study a croc's immune system. We might learn something about their white blood cells or whatever that could help us with human beings. And so they went down to a croc farm, because here crocs are farmed for people who like to eat crocodile meat, which I don't. It's very, it's like very, very thin, greasy chicken. And,
I like fried gator tail, okay, but go on.
Okay. Anyway, maybe it can be prepared well, but I haven't had it. Anyway, so they went down and they extracted blood from those guys, but when they took it back to the lab, it was just too fatty, the blood, because they were farmed crocodiles, so they were just fed continuously and they didn't have to do anything. So it was basically like the blood of a quadruple bypass patient. So it was no good to them. So they said the next stage of their research was going to have to be to go out into the wild and try to get a wild croc and take blood from them. And they said that will be more difficult research to mount, because the crocs will be less cooperative.
Yeah. Are you telling me
that was years ago? I read that story and I haven't heard anything since. So,
are you suggesting that crocodiles might be a little reluctant to have their blood taken?
Apparently.
So Michael Connor wanted to know the stats of emus, and you know what? We aim to please around here. We really do. So good news. I have those stats to hand. Here we are. A flightless bird. Number appearing 2 to 20. Armor class 7. Move 18 inches. You'll notice that's ground only. They are, after all, flightless. Hit dice 1 to 3. So that varies. They do not have a lair nor treasure. Number of attacks 1 or 1. See below. Damage per attack 1 to 4 or 2 to 8. No special attacks. No special defense. Standard magic resistance. Animal intelligence. Neutral alignment. Medium size. No psionics. These large avian creatures are typified by the ostrich, emu, and rhea. They live in warm climates and open grasslands. The ostrich size have 3 hit dice, emu-like birds have 2, and rhea size 1. All flightless birds are non-aggressive and run from danger. If cornered, they can peck for 1 to 4 hits or kick for 2 to 8. So there you go. You asked, we answered, because that's what we do around here. We are SMART, smart. Let's see. Dirty History and Hobby telling us how good gator meat is. Traveler, the Varger, or the uplifted dog race, which makes sense. That sounds like something a dog would say. Varger. What do you call it, little boy? Varger.
The only dog I ever owned, I called Ralph, because I said, "What's your name?" And he said, "Ralph."
There you go.
So that's what it became.
Well, he might have had a sore throat and his speech would have been a little rough.
Just having a look at Aftermath, because I'm not sure if they... Because Aftermath is like one of the few role-playing games that had some supplements put out for Australia. Like in one of their scenarios, the player characters have been frozen and they wake up in the ruins of Sydney University. So here we go. All right, I have to share this with you guys.
Gonzalo has the Aftermath box set right there. We had a all too short but ripping game of Aftermath once upon a time. Gonzalo, Kyle, myself, and a dear friend of mine, Aurora.
All right, so flora and fauna of Australia, 2100 of AD. During the period of the ruin, with the exchange of nuclear, chemical and biological weapons between the major powers, the rate of mutation increases dramatically. Of course. While Australia was not initially affected by such things, the radiation and some of the CBW weapons did eventually reach Australia, borne by the winds. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, scourge of God, plague, whatever. Killer kangaroos. These are the result of a deliberate genetic engineering experiment by pre-ruined scientists. Why? This manipulation resulted in the greater development of the kangaroo's forepaws. No one is quite sure exactly why this was done, but it is thought that it was part of a new evolutionary theory that stated that the development of specialized manipulatory limbs was directly related to the development of intelligence. If this was the reason, then the theory may now be regarded as at least partially proved. The modified kangaroos have developed levels of intelligence similar to that reached by master rats. Master rats. This must be referring to something else that I've forgotten about. In other words, they are the equal of humans in concrete areas of reasoning, but suffer some significant impediments in the area of abstract thought. So there's probably not many killer kangaroo philosophers.
Yeah, probably not.
So they can communicate between themselves, which makes them particularly dangerous. As they were and still are often hunted by humans for food. In fact, some humans believe that the only good roo is a dead roo. This has made them bitter enemies of man. They will in fact attempt to kill all humans they see, although only if the odds are right. They are not suicidal. There is, however, no reason why, under the right circumstances, an individual killer kangaroo might not become friendly with an individual human. The development of their forelimbs enable KKs to use bows and similar muscle-powered missile weapons, though their shoulder structure is such that they cannot use any weapon with a stock. This means that pistols and SMGs are easily usable by them without any problems. It also means that rifles, carbines and shotguns cannot be used effectively if they have stocks. So they have to have a sawn-off stock on their shotgun. Right.
They could use the Mossberg Defender, that has that pistol grip, that classic, Chow Yun Fat with the two shotguns and the trench coat look for your kangaroos.
Okay, and then they give their stats, which will be meaningless unless you've played Aftermath, and maybe meaningless even if you have played it. Wild wombats. These are almost as nasty as the drop bear on an individual basis. The drop bear is the legendary the bear that we tell all the tourists about, that it sits in a tree and drops on you as you pass underneath. Considering that the wild wombats hunt in packs, they are probably far worse when encountered in significant numbers. They are known to be carnivorous and hunt in packs of 6 to 12. If they draw blood or one of their number is wounded, there is a 10% cumulative chance per turn that they will go berserk, attacking until either their prey or themselves are dead. So it's like a wombat version of a honey badger. There is no way they'll be driven off once they go into such a killing frenzy. Oh, and then there's giant kangaroos, about 10 to 12 foot tall. So, yes, kangaroos have been statted out. Drop bears, carnivorous koalas. The giant platypus. Tasmanian devil, the giant ants. And then giant devils, Tasmanian tiger. And then they go off into diseases like botulism, brucellosis, and smallpox, and all that fun stuff.
All those lovely things. I will point out that there has actually been a post-apocalypse movie with uplifted killer kangaroos. Kyle, do you know? Tank Girl. Yes, Tank Girl.
It was a long-standing comic. Yeah.
Yeah.
The uplifted kangaroo was her boyfriend.
Yes. Yes. Started out as a comic book, and then got made into a movie, which I I had not read the comic. It looked quirky and weird. They didn't lean into the Stan Winston designed kangaroos at all for the trailers in America. I just thought it would be a badass movie with comedy and tanks and all that sort of thing, and it was not. It was something far more surreal, but I mean, right there, it was. In retrospect, now 30 plus years on, looking back at Tank Girl, I can say that just looks like a bunch of guys got together, played a short campaign of Aftermath, and said, you know what, this would make a hell of a movie. Let's just make this thing. I've got $30 million lying around. Yeah, well, I think I got like 20 million. That's all we need. Let's hire some talent. Let's get this made.
I don't think they spent that much on it.
Oh, now you know I got to look. Now I got to look at the budget on Tank Girl. So Wikipedia Tank Girl film. And I feel like this is one of those things that I'm going to click and it's absolutely going to say a reboot has been planned. Let's see. Nothing immediately, but its budget. Kyle, you were right. I was over by a factor of 2. It is $25 million. Made $6 million.
I'm surprised it was that high.
Yeah, made $6 million at the box office. Most of it was probably hiring Malcolm McDowell and Laura Petty and Stan Winston's kangaroo animatronics. The rest of it was renting the tank and the Panaflex cameras. And if you haven't seen this movie, guys, it's of the many movies that came out in 1995, this is one of them. It is 104 minutes that you will definitely spend.
Look, there are certain movies that require your full attention, and there are other movies that you can be sitting there having your beer and pretzels and talking shit to your mate while you're watching them. You know, you don't watch these things on your own. You watch them with a friend, and you have a few beers, and you laugh at it all, and occasionally you catch some of the dialogue. And
yeah. I mean, you know, she runs out of main gun rounds for her for her tank at some point in the film, and ooh, I'm gonna spoil it for you guys. Oh no, she just starts loading beer cans. I guess we're to presume that just by sheer grit and pluck, the beer cans are able to launch out of the cannon without any kind of propellant. No, Dennis Hopper's not in it. It's Malcolm McDowell is the bad guy in Tank Girl, Michael. Although it surprises me that it wasn't Dennis Hopper now that you bring it up. I mean, you know, he was absolutely the absolutely willing to do anything for a paycheck. But anyway, so yes, there you go. There's your post-apocalypse kangaroos, and you can even see them in film. How many movies? How many are tabletop RPGs? This is just kind of a rhetorical question, Kyle. You don't have to answer that. But how many tabletop RPGs can you point at the screen that is tabletop RPGs, not already based on a property? Can you point at the screen and say, that is in this exact weird, obscure TTRPG? Not many. Not many, I bet. And yet there it is. She also did the voice of the female electrical powered armor supervillain on the Superman animated series. I did not know that. Michael says he should have remembered that was not Dennis Hopper, but hey, again, it is a 30-year-old film. I'm not gonna hold your feet to the fire on remembering that it was Malcolm McDowell and not Dennis Hopper.
30-year-old film that you probably only half saw once.
Exactly.
You probably weren't watching the screen the whole time.
we as a group of employees, we went out on a Sunday. I was working in a record store in 1995. We caught a Sunday late afternoon matinee of it, and again, of all the movies I saw in 1995, that was one of them. Had an okayish soundtrack. Let's see. Army of Me by Bjork. Girl You Want by Devo. Had some L7, Bush, Portishead. A cover of Let's Fall in Love by Joan Jett and Paul Westerberg, of all things. Ice-T, and he was in it. Anyway, so that's enough of that silliness. On to other silliness. Stop that. Is Tank Girl better than A Boy and His Dog? Kyle, have you ever seen A Boy and His Dog?
I have not.
One of Don Johnson's first films. It is based on a Harlan Ellison story about a fellow, and once again we have mutated, uplifted animals. He has a dog that can communicate with him psychically. And so Don Johnson's character, the titular boy, is wandering through the wasteland, and he finds basically a vault. If you're familiar with the Fallout games, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, he finds a vault, and he enters it, and the people in the vault are very interested in him, not so much in his dog. And so he meets these various interesting factions, and he comes to find out that just enough radiation has gotten into the vault that it has rendered everyone sterile, and he's not. So they want him to basically stud the entire place, which one might think could be pretty awesome, but he does not wish to do this when he realizes some of the restrictions that will be placed on him. So he falls in love with a girl who wants to see outside the vault. And they leave the vault together after some shenanigans. I think he offs a bunch of the people in the vault who are trying to keep him there. And they come out, and his dog is almost completely starved to death. He's been out of the vault for the weeks that he that he has not or that he was in there, and his dog is half starved to death. And it's right about this time that his newfound love starts becoming as imperious and snide and as pushy as everyone in the vault. And so in the next scene, we see them sitting down to enjoy a meal together, some cooked meat. And he's wrapping the meat up, and what he's wrapping it up in is the white dress that she was wearing when she left the vault with him. And as they're walking off into the sunset, the dog quips to him, "Well, one thing you can say about her is she had good taste." So this is based on a Harlan Ellison story, and Ellison, the way Ellison wrote the story was that although he was conflicted about it, and it broke his heart to do it, it was a choice between the woman and the dog, and he fed the dog and presumably himself. But it was a, you know. And when Ellison saw the movie, he was disgusted. He said it was a misogynistic piece of shit, that they made a joke out of what was supposed to be a gut punch of an ending. And he did a rare thing. He wrote a sequel to A Boy and His Dog that was basically a middle finger at people who told him that they loved the movie A Boy and His Dog because they thought that ending was hilarious. So he actually made a sequel to A Boy and His Dog where the two of them meet a rather terrible fate. So, yeah, it's It's a pretty nasty little piece of film. Vincent says first time he saw Laurie Petty was in A League of Her Own. You know what? I know all the memes about A League of Their Own, but I've never seen it.
I just remember that there's no crying in baseball.
Exactly. There's no crying in baseball, and that's what I try and tell my players is there's no crying in Dungeons and Dragons. There is no crying in Dungeons and Dragons. Your character croaks. That's it. That's all she wrote. So, man, I'm hyped about this hex crawl that's coming up on Wednesdays, Kyle. So perhaps in the next, the next little while, I'm not sure how you're doing with time, but we can talk a little bit about what a hex crawl constitutes. You'll be going by charts alone, right? Or do you have something planned? All right.
Yeah, basically, going by charts alone. But so, as I've described before, what I do is I roll things up and then I try to tie them together somewhat. Not necessarily in a cooperative way. So, like, if you've got these different groups of random monsters, like if you've got some vampires here and then some ogres here and then 50 bandits over there, one might be trying to avoid the other. You might be able to persuade one to help you against the other. And that's sort of like the ogres probably don't like the vampires too much either. And the bandits certainly won't like them. So they might be evil bandits, but you could still work with them to deal with the vampires. But then, of course, you've got to split the treasure. Or you might be standing over the wooden staked body of the vampire, and the bandits say, "No, all the treasure's ours now, mate." Or you might try to do that to them, and so on. So, you sort of think about the interactions of all these different groups when you do the random hex crawl.
Mm-hmm.
So the basic thing is I've got an article on my blog about it, my blog, which I haven't updated for ages, but I'd said most of what I had to say, so that's all right. Let me just find it. Hex crawl one. Here we go. Link will be posted in the chat.
All right. Now Vincent asks, "Are we submitting our character sheets?" Yeah, you will be submitting those to Kyle. This is one of those rare cases where, my hands are not on the controls. It's all Kyle.
Yeah, you just submit it to me. You can roll them up yourself. I don't care if you cheat. If I think that you're cheating on your dice rolls, that's right. I'll just cheat on mine and things will balance out. Okay, so basically with the hexon up method, you go through and there's a part in the DMG where it says you can generate. It talks about generating random terrain and whether it's populated or not, and they suggest a hex size of 1 mile. This actually works pretty well because the historical villages tended to be up to a few hundred people, and they would occupy most of 1 mile once you considered all the little farms and the pasture areas for the animals and so on. They'd occupy most of a square mile. So most of a mile hex that has a village in it is going to be village. Similarly, when you look at predatory animals or packs of predatory animals, they tend to range over about 1 mile. They need about a square mile to sustain them. That's the kind of density. I can't remember the exact numbers now, but I looked it up. The numbers of lions in Africa, estimated lions or tigers and so on in Africa before the period of colonization, and similarly with wolves in North America and so on. And it came out as being like a pack or a pride of these animals for each square mile. And I thought, well, what's a monster really but a predatory animal? So you roll in each hex. So I rolled for each hex a monster, just for random one appearing. Now, the players may wander through that hex and not see the monster, but it's still there. The example I always give is, there's a fire station, which is like 500 yards down the road from me. I don't see them every day though, but they're still there. Now, if I were just passing through my neighbourhood, I may or may not see a fire engine. I may or may not see any trace of them, like a fire. In the case of a monster, the monster causes the fire rather than puts it out, but it's the same deal, but they're there. They're still there. So similarly with monsters. So I roll up, there'd be something in every hex. Whether or not the players find it is another matter, but there will be something there in every 1 mile hex. And so I roll up what the monster it is. I roll up whether or not they have a lair. I roll up their treasure, if any, is applicable. And then I think how they tie in with the others. And basically, in each hex, people are going to be aware of what's likely in the next hex. So if you run across the village, they'll be able to tell you what's in the 6 hexes immediately adjacent. And there might be vague rumours of what's beyond that. And if you run into a shepherd who's like 3 miles beyond the village, or 3 hexes beyond the village, he'll be able to tell you, yeah, I saw these really big footprints, like man-shaped, but big footprints, and there was a bad smell, and my sheep got all unsettled and that, and I think there's some sort of giant humanoid type of thing. And so you might go, okay, maybe that's ogre, hill giant, something like that. And you may decide to check that out, in which case let the dice fall where they may, or you may decide to avoid it. So, but basically the idea is that there's a count who wants to extend the bounds of his county. He can't extend it southward because there are other counts there who might get upset with him. But northward is wilderness and monsters, here be dragons kind of thing. So he's like welcoming adventurers to go and, like you do when you have established a stronghold at 9th level. Establish a stronghold and clear the surrounding hexes of monsters. He wants you to clear the surrounding hexes of monsters for him.
Well, there you go. And I should point out, since Kyle's using the Dungeon Master's Guide for hex population, there is an ample chance, not a great one, but there is always a chance we could stumble on a ruined castle occupied by monsters. So, and
we have a number of previous episodes where we rolled up some hexes just to illustrate the principle, and there was one where, there was a castle and it was occupied by about 180 or something bandits.
Yep.
Or brigands. They were neutral though. So
they were neutral, so they would have been bandits. Brigands are evil. I want to answer a question real quick here that went out from the chat. Rabbit Wrangler asks, after Keep on the Borderlands, what is the next natural module to play? If you're playing Keep with AD&D, when your party finishes Keep, if they basically clean the place out stem to stern, I would say that you would probably, depending on their size, you may well be able to dovetail them into the A series. And if you put the Keep down in the Pomarge, which is where Gary suggested it be, you're not far off the Wild Coast, so you can just move north up the coast, and you can you can find a group that wants you to take on the slave lords, or failing that, maybe T1. Do T1 and take a run at the Temple of Elemental Evil, and then dip down to the slavers. It's a lot of options. Dragonlance is 1E. Yes, Dragonlance started out as a first edition AD&D campaign setting. And so TB Flowers, though, asking, was logging my interest to participate on Discord. What is desired size of PC party? Kyle, what is desired size of PC party?
Well, I'm not a master of DMing like Bill, so I can handle up to about 5 or 6
Okay.
is the numbers. Because probably 6 on the basis that 1 or 2 people are always going to be absent for whatever reason, or almost always. But yeah.
So,
but if you regularly have 4, then that's really good. 3 or 4.
and I will point out from a broadcast standpoint, I would never try and like have my full Monday night AD&D group say, "Hey guys, we're going to live stream," because it's 14. It has been as big as 14 people. It's currently 11, but we've had like 14 or 15 people. That doesn't even work for a full-length film. I think unless you're Robert Altman or Peter Jackson doing a trilogy of fantasy movies, that big of a cast just doesn't work. So I, as show owner, would say 5 to 6, and
Yeah, well, there's an interesting sort of observation of I don't know, interpersonal relationships or psychology or whatever you want to call it, that 5 or more people you can't have a conversation with. It's either a lecture or it's 2 or 3 different conversations going on. And I've seen this many times in my garage gym biz, because I normally cap it at 6 people in there. Even with 5 people in there, like it'll either be me, it's not anyone else. It'll either be me standing there telling people stuff, or they'll break off into little groups of 2 or 3 people and have their own individual conversations. And that works in person. Like when you're around a game table, you could have like 8 or 10 people, because they'll just talk amongst themselves while other conversations are going on, and then go, "Oh, what? We're taking off from the planet now? Okay, cool." But it doesn't work so well online because you just have that lecture option, because otherwise people are talking over each other.
Yeah, and I feel like Discord. If you're gaming on Discord, not live like this, it's workable with a large number of people in kind of quasi-lecture mode. But for you guys who are watching and would be like, I don't want to, I don't want to play. I just want to watch. Believe me, if we got, say 9 people, it would be untenable. You guys out there in the audience, just setting aside, trying to keep all those plates spinning for Kyle, it would be nigh impossible for you folks out there in the audience to carry on. I mean, we have nominally 7 people, but I think it's probably going to end up being 5 to 6 on Tuesday nights, on the Tuesday nights live stream. And with 2 or 3 people cross talk, it brings everything to just a crash. So, so I am 100% behind Kyle's decision there. And
well, I think, I mean, I remember even in our early shows, it took us a while to get into the rhythm of, I shut up when you're talking, and
yeah, definitely. And Kyle and I are like, we've got a host, co-host, or 2 hosts, whatever. Rhythm going to where we more or less don't step on each other anymore. So you can imagine, I know a lot of you folks out there who are ready to game. You're like, "Oh, I want to play. You may have never live streamed. So, this is going to be a new experience for you, but we'll make it work.
And I would note too, some people are a bit shy or private. That's fair enough. You don't have to have a webcam or have a webcam on in order to live stream. You do need a monitor so you can view things, because you'll occasionally get a visual aid like a map, dungeon map, picture of a person or a thing. So you do need access to a screen, and you do need access to a microphone and speakers, so you can talk to us and hear us. But you don't have to show your face if you don't want to. You can have an avatar of, Superman or Tank Girl or whatever if you want.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Just have and you know, as you're looking here at me, I mean, you know, Kyle's on a laptop with headphones. You know, just as his mobile phone had headphones. Don't take this as your standard.
And you don't have to use your real name. I mean, I use my real name on the internet because I've been on the internet since like 1996 or something. So that privacy horse is bolted. The stable long ago. It's too late. Knowing now what I knew, if I'd known then what I know now, I would be a lot more private on the internet. But it's too late now. So
yeah. That ship sailed for me about the time you got on the internet, Kyle. I started using the internet in like late 1988, early 1989, when it was just dial-up connection to a Usenet server. But yeah, no, I screwed up any chance to hide my ID a long time ago. But if you want to remain anonymous, that's okay. Just you know, I would say don't have your character name and your username in chat is the same, not because of any concern for you know, being doxxed or anything like that. Just, you know, be a little you know, imaginative, if you will. Rabbit Wrangler says he'll watch, but he's in the witness protection program. You are very good, sir. You are very good. TB Flower says he no longer has ex-girlfriend stalking him, but he's not too worried about anonymity. I know some ladies, if you'd like that to change again. Daniel Rowan says, what kind of weirdo uses a real name in here? Not me. Bill Sylvie is an alias, and you guys will never figure out my identity. You don't think I'm really named Bill Sylvie and that this is my real face, do you? I just have a really expensive VTuber setup. Kyle, too. I paid for his. Vincent Nodabartolo says, I like Aubrey Plaza. Well, you're a weirdo, Vincent. Let's see. Dark Sword books, not quickly finding reference into it turned into an RPG. I not familiar with. So yeah,
what's happening in the wider world of gaming, Bill. I hear, like you said, something. I just saw announcements, but I didn't manage to catch the stream. Is there, like, you said something about wizards and old school?
So yeah, this popped up, and I feel like I've had to explain this to people a few times. So here we go again. For the people in the back or who are just coming on and maybe didn't quite follow me on this, Wizards of the Coast, back when they accidentally their entire IP process in 2023. They got about as transparent as they can be. I mean, transparent in a different way than they did when they did it in the first place. But they came on and said, okay, we're just going to start posting a dev blog and tell you everything we're going to do before it happens. And one of the things that they had said in late 2023 was, hey, we're going to look at putting other editions of D&D into the Creative Commons, which is kind of like a big worldwide version of the open gaming license. There's lots of things in Creative Commons. There's versions of Linux. There's different software packages. There's books that automatically move into it after a certain amount of time the author dies. Films can be put there, legal documents, blueprints, patents. If you want to move it into Creative Commons and you own it, you can. And that opens it up for other people to use and abuse however they want. I have said for years that if they wanted to win the hearts and minds of a lot of old schoolers, move old D&D into Creative Commons or into the open gaming license, but they mentioned Creative Commons first, and make it so that a guy like me, or a guy like you, a guy like Vincent, a guy like David Brown, could publish a module that uses Descending Armor class, Strength, Intelligence, Wisdom, Dexterity, Constitution, Charisma, basically everything that isn't copyrighted, Like you could have clenched fist, but not Big B's clenched fist. You get the idea. And then put Dungeons and Dragons on the cover and sell it. Mm-hmm. So you wouldn't necessarily need to publish Osric or Swords and Wizardry or DCC or whatever. You could publish a Dungeons and Dragons module and not have the Death Star laser fired at your house. So they said they were going to look into this, and then all went quiet on the Western Front. I saw a notification in Twitter from D&D Beyond about all these things that they were doing. I responded, hey, that's really cool. You guys ever going to do anything about the older editions going into Creative Commons? And it wasn't them who answered, but it was someone else who said, yeah, they actually mentioned this on their dev blog back in May. So I went over and looked on the developers log. And lo and behold, they said that with all the 50th anniversary stuff happening now, they're starting that process in 2025. So I reported on this. I said that could be a good thing. And I think a lot of people misunderstood me that I'm out there shilling for Wizards of the Coast. I'm not. Okay. You're not going to wake up tomorrow or next week or next year, or if God tells me that I get to be here for another decade of me shilling for Wizards of the Coast latest D&D. This is what I love. This is what I love when it comes to tabletop RPGs. So once again, for the people in the back, them doing that is good for us old schoolers. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying you have to run out and kiss their feet. You don't have to have that.
That'll be good if that happens.
Yeah, it will. I'm not having...
What constitutes the old editions, though? We're just talking about wood would box or...
well, I mean...
AD&D?
It would basically be everything that they don't already have in Creative Commons, which they put 5th edition in Creative Commons. So 4th, 3rd and a half, 2nd, 1st, the various forms of basic. So. Yeah, right. Exactly. Well, you know.
4th is the only one without a retro clone. So
yeah, you're absolutely right. So yeah, everyone.
Yeah. I mean, just about every game has a retro clone if it's sold at all. I mean, Aftermath doesn't have a clone, but it didn't sell. So
yeah.
You know, Traveler's got clones, and what else? Yeah, GURPS does not have a clone. There's some guy on the RPG site who's been working on a GURPS clone for the better part of a decade now. But
how do you clone GURPS? That doesn't make any sense.
I don't know. Well, I mean, you just have a point-buy system. You have 4 stats, and
but I mean, GURPS is out there and it's still actively developed. I'm confused. That makes my thinker hurt.
Well,
I smell burning toast when you say that.
I mean, it's because, you know, if you want to do a world book or whatever, you've got to go through them.
And that's fair enough.
There's no SRD in that, so, you know, he wants to do that. But, like, this guy's been doing it for the better part of a decade and still hasn't finished it yet, so...
yeah, as it often is with one-man bands. But Gonzalo asks, what is out of bounds for Creative Commons if you want to write a module? Like, if they put AD&D First Edition in Creative Commons, you could not publish for money a module and say, this is set in the city of Greyhawk, and Mordenkainen shows up in it, and you use Tensor's floating disk at some point. Anything that has a proper name that is identifiable IP, they will hold on to, and that will not go into Creative Commons. And the problem with First and Second and so on is so much of that stuff is wrapped up in the lore of AD&D that they have to go in and strip that stuff out. David Brown asked about Star Frontiers. I wouldn't know about Star Frontiers. I mean, I know Star Frontiers plenty well, but Star Frontiers is a completely separate game from D&D. I don't know.
Well, I don't know if anyone owns Star Frontiers anymore, because I see the PDFs freely shared. I don't see any website that is selling reprints or anything like that. I think it's abandonware at this point.
I tend to agree with you. It's a very, very strange thing, Star Frontiers. But Anyway, so that was the big RPG news
That's good.
of earlier. And again, I feel like there was a misunderstanding from some people that I'm saying go support Wizards and get all the, yay Wizards. I'm not. And you know what they say, wish in one hand and crap in the other and see which one fills up first. I'm not expecting like in 6 months we're going to be talking about how now we have it. I'm just saying that if it happens, it's a good thing. I mean, I have said all the way back to the beginning of this nonsense in 2023, reward good behavior. If they do good, I'll say they did good. I'm not going to gen up. See, I stayed out of that nonsense when they screwed up about the whole, the 6th edition books in D&D Beyond will cause the 5th edition rules to basically be knocked out of it, and you'll have to read the physical rule book, which, oh, my stars and garters, you'd have to read a physical rule book. And people were like wailing and gnashing their teeth. Oh, they're erasing 5e. They said it was going to be compatible with 5e. And there were people who were, putting up doomsday videos about that and going on a tear. And I just stayed out of it because, one, this is not a 5th edition channel. It never will be. And two, I frankly didn't care. And I wasn't going to gin up artificial drama for clicks based on that. I'd rather put out a video talking about stuff going into the Creative Commons, possibly, and get 1,000 views than rage bait and get 5,000 views over something that ultimately, I know you guys who watch and love this channel, people who work with this channel like Kyle, just don't care about. Yes, I want my channel to grow. I'd rather my channel grow because people see awesome stuff on it. If Wizards does something stupid like send Pinkertons after a guy again, or try and basically snatch the entire OGL away from people again, or fires 30% of their workforce at Christmas again, absolutely I'm going to say something about that. But, some dummy pushed out a software update that borked a 5th edition thing. That's just not newsworthy for here, guys. So that was the big news. Now I am releasing a video tomorrow, and thank you very much, Vincent, for the scoop on what that video is going to be. But I'm not gonna. You're gonna have to watch the video tomorrow. You're gonna have to watch it. Shin, there was so much. Okay. Yes, TSR got tested, but here's the thing. Okay. If I sue Kyle for $1 trillion, let's say Kyle lived in the United States, and I sued Kyle for $1 trillion because I didn't come out of his gym looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger in 1985. And I say he caused me emotional damage. Well, Kyle's just got to go before a judge and say,
I cause all my clients emotional damage.
You do cause all your clients emotional damage. But you say, look, Mr. Sylvie came in my place. He curled a bear bar 3 times, said that his back was in agony, and he left, and he never came back. And the next time I heard from him was this lawsuit. And the judge would say, okay, well, I'm dismissing this. I could walk out of there, go right to the clerk of the court, and file another suit against him. And I could do it over and over and over. And every time, he has to take time out of his day to do it, no matter how many times that's been dismissed. Now, the judge could dismiss it with prejudice and say, you had no claims. Don't ever sue him again. Any future claims you might make will be blocked at the clerk of the court because you are a vexatious litigant. You're not doing this seeking legal redress. You are doing this trying to hurt Mr. SCHUANT.
I think we need the term vexatious litigant for some rules lawyers in some games.
We do. I'm going to
no longer get to appeal DM rulings.
Exactly. I'm going to start using that from now on in my AD&D games. You are a vexatious litigant. I am dismissing your argument with prejudice. Don't bring it up again. But but the fact is, until a judge does that, Kyle has to keep coming back over and over again. It puts a chilling effect, and he might just throw up his hands and say, well, it's not worth having a gym anymore. And I've effectively won, even if I haven't won. Even if I sue him 100 times, and every time I lose it, if he quits, then that's it. And things like that have happened. And to go back to the TSR thing, or even Wizards of the Coast, I could challenge Wizards of the Coast legally about D&D, and I could start publishing a game called Dangerous and Deadly that uses all of the mechanics of Dungeons and Dragons. And I could go before a judge. I could show them all the court findings against TSR. I could show them all the court findings against the company that made their own Trivial Pursuit rules, or wedges and question cards, which is what the you can't. People think the you can't copyright game mechanics came from TSR lawsuits. It didn't. It was a few years before that, with somebody coming out with their own Trivial Pursuit cards and wedges.
I thought it was Monopoly.
It may have been, but I could do that. They could sue me. They could take me to court. I haul my ass up to Renton with all of my stuff. I hire an attorney. That cost me thousands and thousands of dollars. I'm strapped. I'm busted. I got to hitchhike the way home. And as soon as I walk in the door, there's another suit from them. Even though they're wrong, and they know they're wrong, and they'll lose, they can negate. They have much deeper pockets than I ever will. They're a multi-billion-dollar company. Remember that.
In Australia, this happens with defamation cases.
Yeah.
There'll be somebody prominent, and they mouth off, and somebody says, this politician is a rape apologist or something like that, and then they sue them and that. And it's just basically whoever has the most money wins, because the person with the less money just can't afford to fight it out. So they issue an apology or whatever, and away they go. It's used to stifle free speech, the defamation law here.
Yeah, and that is basically all they have to do, regardless of what any previous findings were. 5 minutes into the case, or 5 hours into the case.
This is why we should bring back trial by combat and dueling and stuff.
Exactly. I think
I'm confident I could take the CEO of Wizards of the Coast. I don't even know who it is, but I'm confident I could take him.
It just, I can't afford an attorney, but I damn sure can afford a legal champion.
Yeah. Or you just go down to the local bar and find a big bouncer. He'll be a champion.
Exactly.
He'll lay the smack down on the CEO.
Yeah. Hey, I'll get you a public sub. I'm buying. All right, man, let's go. But anyway, so that is basically it. Yes, TSR was told no, they can't sue the world because of Dungeons and Dragons. And yes, they would continue to try to, because they know that they have deeper legal pockets than you, me, Kyle, all of us put together. And Wizards of the Coast is an organ, a vestigial organ of the body politic that is, or the body corporate rather, that is Hasbro. And I'm not sure if Microsoft would want to get in a tussle with Wizards of the Coast. Or with Hasbro. So you can forget about me. I have free D&D modules out there that say Greyhawk, they use IP, stuff like that. 24 years ago, when I started publishing these on the internet, and you can get them from me if anybody wants the link, I will send it to you. 24 years ago, when I started publishing this on the internet, my boilerplate in the back was, if Wizards of the Coast orders me to stop this, I will stop this. They will disappear forever, and I will never do it again. Because I don't want the Death Star parked over my house, folks. Yes, trial by combat should definitely be an option. I think I should be allowed to use the Wheel of Pain for a couple of months to get buff, and then I should fight them in the pit with howls of lust and fury greeting me. Kyle will be like my keeper, just sitting there nodding approvingly. Delver, what is best in life? To crush the players, to see the dice tumble before you, and hear the lamentation of the women. Ah, Kyle nodding. But anyway, so that is literally, you have wrung all the legal toothpaste out of me. There's no more. Screw the cap on and drop me in the bathroom trash. I can't answer any more law warfare questions. But anyway,
for a while I was following the Oz-Law subreddit, and just watching barristers discuss amongst themselves, and they're always amused by the guys who choose to represent themselves, who are disproportionately sovereign citizens, but they like the guys who choose to represent themselves. But there's the occasional rare success, and there's a famous case called Sturgio. And there's this guy Sturgio who he back in the 1990s, his bank took like $1,000 out of his bank account or something like that. It was direct debited to somewhere or other, and he went and inquired with them, and they wouldn't tell him where it had gone to, and they wouldn't refund him the money. It's like, well, I didn't sign off on this. Give me my money back. And they wouldn't do so. So in protest, he withheld his mortgage repayments. So they then took him to court to get their mortgage payments back. And there was a lot of legal back and forth with him losing cases and so on, and then him reappealing. But in the meantime, the bank that he had got the mortgage from was absorbed by a larger bank. And then the case went on for several more years. Literally, it was like a total of like 15 years or something. And then Sturgio dug into it, and he realized the bank, so the bank that had been bought by the other bank, after, a few years after they did that, the now parent bank just discontinued the Australian business number of the original bank. So the original bank was no longer a registered business. It being no longer a registered business, they had no standing in law to sue him, because in order to sue somebody, you have to have suffered a loss. Mm-hmm. But you can't have a business loss. My business had a loss. Your business no longer exists, so your business can't claim a loss. So the judge just dismissed it, and he had the comment that the barristers should presumably have known that the client that they were representing existed or not. But it was the parent bank. So yeah, he ended up not having to pay half his mortgage after about 12 or 15 years, and just owned his house free and clear. So trial by combat would have been a lot quicker and less painful.
Indeed. We had, and I don't know how global this was, Kyle. Did you guys have like a big economic downturn in 2008 down there?
Yes, not as big as you guys did, but yeah.
Okay, yeah, but so we got walloped in 2008, and the thing that precipitated it was a really bad housing market. Now, the badness of it is far beyond the scope of anything we want to discuss here on the show and why it happened and so on. But suffice to say that there were banks buying bundles of mortgages, basically treating them as like piles of trust bills, or treasury bills, and just trading them back and forth like Magic the Gathering cards. Well, the funny thing is, when you start moving that much paper around, stuff gets lost. And so there was a case, or there were many cases in the United States, at least, of this bank buys this bank, and this bank buys this bundle of mortgages, and that bundle of mortgages gets sold. Well, you had people who stopped getting any notification about their monthly mortgage bill on their house.
Who do I actually pay back?
Exactly. Who do I actually pay back? And the bank that they were paying their mortgage to simply no longer existed. They no longer had a place to send their check. They were no longer getting auto debited out of their bank account if they set up e-funds. And as it happened, one fellow was like, I'm not getting any more bills. So he stopped paying his bill. And finally, a year or so later, a bank said, we think we own your mortgage. We don't have it. Do you have a mortgage that says that and he was like, thanks for letting me know that. Went to a judge. The alleged company showed up and they said, do you have any record of any mortgage payments due to you by him? Well, no, but bank, case dismissed. It's his property. Sign him over a title. He walked right out. That's not a sovereign citizen thing. That was the mortgage companies being so screwed in the head that there were people basically because they couldn't keep track of their paperwork. It's kind of like when you have somebody show up at your game and they have a clipboard that they won't lower down. What's your strength, Bill? 18. Can I see it? No. You showed up at the game with no character sheet. You can have whatever stats you want. It doesn't work that way, guys. Don't try that. Not in my games, not in Kyle's game. It doesn't work that way. But that was not a sovereign citizen thing. Sovereign citizens are hilarious, whether they're in the United States, Australia.
They're just a real life example of chaotic neutral.
They are. They think they're lawful good. And that's the funny part. They think they're lawful good. So I have to retell this story. If you guys are watching this, as we're in silly time now for the show, but I have to tell this story. Back in the early 90s, I had never heard of sovereign citizens. And this show came out. Kyle may be passingly familiar with it. I know a bunch of you guys are very familiar with it, probably, called King of the Hill. And in King of the Hill, it's a show set in Central Texas in a fictional town called Arlen. Exactly. One of the characters on the show, Dale Gribble, is a nut. He is a certified conspiracy nut. Aliens did it. I always thought this was charming. The only conspiracy theory he doesn't believe in is the JFK assassination. He absolutely believes that was Lee Harvey Oswald, and that was it. That was just like that was the end of it. I always thought that was fun. But anyway, I'm watching an episode, and Hank had to go to jail, and Dale is standing next to him, wearing his baseball cap in the court and smoking. And the judge said, "Mr. Gribble, take your hat off and put that cigarette out while you're in my court." And Dale stands up, takes a draw, blows the smoke out his nose, and says, "I do not acknowledge the authority of an admiralty court. That flag is a fringed flag. That's a U.S. Navy flag, and I can't be held in a court-martial a second time by the U.S. military." And the judge orders the bailiff to come over and like gag him and remove him. I thought, ha, 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 that Dale, he's so crazy. No. Sovereign citizens in the U.S. actually believe those things. They will straight up tell you that a gold fringe flag in a courtroom.
What I just picked up on was a court-martial a second time?
Yeah.
So Dale had previously been court-martialed?
Yeah, Dale, a little lore drop about Dale that he was in the Navy and had been drummed out for a dishonorable reason. But, but yeah, I was like,
it's hard to be a sovereign citizen in a military hierarchy.
Yeah.
They don't take to it well.
I just believed it was just kind of wacky, and then later I found out no, there's actually people who believe that if you have a fringed gold fringed American flag in a courtroom, that they are trying you in an admiralty court. That you are technically
Jimmy and Victus, there are indeed sovereign citizens
on a boat at sea. I do want to answer an actual RPG question or comment real quick before we go too far down this extremely strange rabbit hole. We're up at like 140 viewers and now we're down to 121. I think we lost them. Campaigns and Conquest says, got some new players coming into your thanks for got some new players. Thanks for coming into my Greyhawk. Doesn't look like Star Wars has any interest. Hey, but you got D&D, brother, and that's awesome. Congratulations, man. I'm glad, and I wish you the best luck in your upcoming campaign. David Brown, I'm going to clean my guns later after all this conspiracy talk. Just so long as you don't talk to them. And if you do, just so long as they don't answer you back. Now's the time, David. Oh, no.
We do indeed have sovereign citizens here in Australia, but my favourite Sov-Cits are the Soviet citizens.
Yes.
There are people in Russia who believe that the Soviet Union still exists legally. It was never legally disbanded. And they apply for an internal passport, which they attempt to use as a driver's license and so on in Russia. And it doesn't go down well with the Russian police. But my favourite is that there was a website, mgb.org.su, ngb.org.su. So MGB was the initials of the Internal Security Bureau, right? MVD, not MGB, MVD, the Internal Security Bureau, the guys who ran the labour camps and that. So in order to get your Soviet Union identification in the year 2020, or whenever they were doing it, you had to apply at a website which purported to be the website of the Internal Security Bureau, the guys who ran the labour camps, and give them all your information. And people did it, and they paid good rubles for it. And yeah, tried to use that as their driver's license and get away with speeding fines and stuff. And it didn't go down very well. I think they're now dissolved because the police raided them and said you've been ripping people off and stuff. And I would have kept them going for the comedy value myself, but apparently I don't think Putin's got much of a sense of humor. So
if there is one thing that the Russians hate, it's theft and graft. They can't stand the competition. Although I will say, and I always I think you'd have to be kind of a special screwed up in the head, and you didn't actually live in East Germany. There is a tourist hotel in Berlin, what formerly East Berlin. The whole thing is fairly developed now, I understand, where you can stay, and it is like the Stasi are spying on you. It is basically, they run it because the way the apartment blocks in East Germany used to be is the big multi-story apartment blocks had zones built into them that you couldn't access. They were only accessible to the Stasi, and they were listening departments, and they had well, it's Friday night. What do you want to do tonight, Schmidt? Well, I think the Honeckers up on third floor are a little disloyal. Let's go raid them. And there was no chance oh, I see the police coming. Nope. Just, you hear a knock from inside your own closet and out jump a bunch of guys and they drag you and your wife off. And so they have a hotel where you can LARP all that's going on. I can't fathom that. I cannot. I mean, the people who lived under that horror for
that
70 years.
It's like the Nordic LARP with there's a couple of Nordic. I can't remember which country it was, Finland, Sweden, Norway. There was one called We All Had Names, where you sit around in a circle and you pretend to be Jews hiding in the ghetto or hidden in the attic somewhere like Anne Frank, and you take it in turns to be dragged off to the camps, and it's like there's a cheery topic to go with. And then there was the other one where they actually laughed at. They went to an old Fallout bunker and out in the countryside, and they locked themselves in for the weekend and pretended that there'd been a nuclear war, and they were hiding out in this bunker. And they just talked about their feelings about global destruction or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just there's enough natural misery in life. You don't need to go seek it out.
Yeah.
Seek out a bit of fun and escapism, or challenges, whatever. Whether it be challenging a role-playing game to be a better gamer or a better fighter, thief, magic user, or cleric, or challenge in the gym, or go join a climbing gym or something, or
I would show up
club.
at that.
I don't know.
I'd show up at that nuclear bunker LARP and just be like,
I brought pizza.
Yeah. All right, William, who are you? What is your role in this? I'm Mordenkainen, the magic user. We're not doing that. You told me it was a role-playing game. I have a little pouch of dice. I brought pizza.
I've got a spare water chip.
Yeah. So what do I roll to save versus the magical energies that are trapping us in here? It's nuclear fallout. You don't get a saving throw. That's crazy. I'm going to roll it anyway. Ooh, 19. I'm good. All right. Okay. How can you act like this? Becky says her character is dying of radiation sickness. It's all good. I got a few levels of cleric. I cast Cure Disease on her. I think they would ask you to leave their RPG club and not invite you back.
Well, if they ask you to leave, then it wouldn't be much of a loss.
Exactly. Exactly. Just take your pizza and say, well, I'm taking this with me then.
All right, Vincent has rolled up a character.
Woohoo! All right, Vincent's got his character done. What you rolling with? What you rolling with, Vincent? Let us know. I hope you guys are in good voice, because next week, Kyle, are you clear for next week?
Yep.
Okay.
I don't know what he used, but
Finn again, thief. It says he's a thief.
3 foot tall hobbit.
That is a perfectly cromulent thief. I like that thief.
But he's not very likable.
Yeah, charisma 5. Loyalty base, -20. Reaction adjustment, -15. If that hobbit opens his mouth, I'll kill the lot of you. Understood. No hirelings for you. Well, yeah, you can have hirelings, a maximum of 2. And they don't like you very much, Vincent. No, that's Vincent. No. So I rolled up a character once upon a time for this, and I have lost him. Kyle, I don't know if I sent you those. So I got really out of whack stats. They felt like a big, 4d6 discard lowest. So I re-rolled, and now I've lost them. So I will roll a third one unless you have them.
No.
All right. Well, I will roll a third. You know what? I'll do it right now.
Dragon's Foot has got a thing for you.
I'm gonna do it. Let me see. It's what
you do it now, and then we'll finish up.
All right. 1, 2, 3. Strength 12. Strength of 12. I'm gonna. I'll be. Let's see. Notepad. Intelligence. 6. I feel a fighter coming on.
That 1-5 looks like a cocky die.
It does, but it's reading it as a 6. I can roll them separately if you're worried about them.
No, I'm not fussed, but
all right. Wisdom 6. I am Bob. I hit things. Dexterity. Watch, I'm going to get an 18. I'm going to run a Thief 2 and just do things better than Vincent's character. 12. Constitution. By the way, everyone who's playing, I will send you the link for this. Not bad. Constitution 9. I will send you the link for the on-screen die roller so we can have some nice chunky fun with that. Does it require a download, a login, or anything? Charisma 3. I love it. I love it. So this is Robert the Fighter.
Why do they hang out together? Because nobody likes either of them.
That's right. They make me stand at the front of the party. And just for S&Gs, so let's see, he is a human fighter, and he is, let's see, what alignment? Let's see, there's 9 alignments. We're gonna do this like this. We're gonna, a 9. So, I didn't really assign any values to that. Hang on a second. Hang on. Let's see. There is an alignment chart. Fortunately, the word pious is only in a couple of places, so I can find it with that. Alignment 9, neutral. He is true neutral. I don't care. Hey, Bob, what should we do?
Him and Finn get along.
Yeah.
They're neutral and nobody likes them. Either of them. They're like the ugly, obnoxious Abbott and Costello.
Hey, all right. Well, Bob, we're out here in the woods. What do you think we should do? I got an idea. I'll go left. You go fuck yourself. Okay. Damn. This will not be a popular party. Yeah, I'm just going to keep my mouth shut and try not to pick my nose too much. I'm describing him as good looking. He's just very off-putting in his attitude and mannerisms.
Well, now you know why you're adventurers. You know, because you couldn't get a legitimate job.
I sure as hell can't get a legitimate job.
Yeah, that guy who shows up for the job interview, you know, with unshaven, wearing a pizza-stained T-shirt with holes in it, and his hair all greasy and that. And he's showing up for a job interview as an accountant.
There you go. So there we have we have we have Bob or Robert the Fighter, and he's starting first level, so that's going to be a D10 on his hit points. A 9, I get no con bonus, but still, I have 9 hit points, so we're stuck with him for a long time.
Not necessarily. That's just a couple of good whacks from an orc.
It is, and
or a 20-foot pit.
And last but not least, 120 gold to spend on equipment, which I'm not going to do right here.
There you go, boys and girls. That's the benefit of D&D. So quick to choose a starter character. If you're a magic user, it takes a little bit longer as you choose spells. If you're a thief, it takes a little bit longer as you write down your various skills. The most time-consuming part usually is choosing your gear.
Yes. So
beast of burden.
Beast of burden. There you go. Well, all right. That it has been a ton of fun. Thank you very much for joining us, Kyle. I'm excited about this. We have our players. You guys, you know where you need to be on the Discord. But get just the Discord was linked earlier. If you're not there, reach out to me on social media. I'll get you set up. We're not playing on Discord. We're playing here in StreamYard.
Yeah, the StreamYard's good because you don't need to download anything or anything. You just need the link.
Yeah, you just need the link
and sign in.
And again,
you need a microphone and speakers and a screen. You don't need a webcam.
Nope.
You can have one if you want, but stay clothed and everything, please. But you don't have to have a webcam.
Yeah. Well, alrighty. Well, thank you very much, Kyle, for hanging out tonight with me, brother.
My pleasure.
And it's always a pleasure to have Kyle here. I will be back tomorrow night. Yang Yan Zhao is going to be here talking about his campaign world that's coming up. It is awesome. You should definitely tune in for that. Friday night, we will be here playing some Gamma World. That's right. The fun don't stop here on the Delver's Dungeon. I got a video coming out tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. And until then, everybody, be good to each other. And whatever you do, wherever you go, whether your charisma is 18 or 3, please keep your eyes peeled for those dreaded owl bears. Peace. Good night. Love you all.
Have you seen my owl bear? Here's to all the weirdos everywhere in the woods and in the air. Have you seen my owl bear? Should I shave off all my hair? Bobs are all around. Some live in tunnels underground. Some are fat, some are rich, some are sleeping in a ditch. Can you ride a crooked horse without a saddle, way off course? Naked as a toad, all the way to Smoky Joe's. Have you seen the little creep driving fast in his little green Jeep? He smells like fish and brandy, but his rotten teeth look dandy. Take me to the show, I don't care if fast or slow. From action flicks to dancing dicks to